Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Scrap Your Scraps Thursday night. Tonight I'm going to show you some quick and easy easel card bases where you can apply a separate piece of artwork to the surface of the easel card and send it in the mail. So without further ado, let's get started. So these are a few of the tools you're going to need for this. You're going to need a 12 by 12 cutter. You're going to need your scraps, and your scrap pieces are, I think the smallest one that I use is 4.25 wide by 12 inches. So you're going to need to look through your stash for that. But each individual card, I give you the measurements at the very beginning. So you need scissors, you're definitely going to need an X-acto knife and a metal ruler for cutting with the X-acto knife. You're going to need your own bone folder and ruler and pencil and your scoreboard and a cutting mat. And I think that's great. And some glue if you want to make things permanent. And that's it. So without further ado, let's get started. This easel card is made out of an 8.5 inch long by 5.5 inch size paper. So a half of an 8.5 by 11 paper, obviously. And I'm just going to take off. This is a little insert if you want to do diagonals. So this helps you do diagonals. You can find that online, but I can put that in the video, so you can see where you can locate that. So what we're going to do is, I've got this, this is actually a piece of media paper. This was what a bunch of stuff was sitting on top of in a package. This is $49 in Market. And so I'm going to use the packaging to make an actual easel card. So I've got this measured out at 5.5 wide by 8. Oh, I've got 8 3/4 long. I don't think I want 8 3/4. I think I want 8.5. So I need to take a tiny bit off. Let me get my cutter. Ooh, good thing that was empty. All right. Oops, I don't want that cutter. It's going to give me a decal edge, although that might be pretty using a decal cutter. This is perfect on this side here. So I'm going to take a little off the top here, and I think this was measured. We need to measure it again so I can see what I'm doing. I am taking the 8.5. So let me just mark that, because I'm not using my big cutter at the moment. 8.5 is going to be right there. So I'm going to take that off. And just a tip with these, I'll raise this up a tiny bit so you can see what I'm doing. Just a tip with these 8.5 inch cutters from Tonics. When you cut from the top, the natural pressure that the cutting blade causes wants to push your paper away from where the blade is going in, because you're so close to the little tiny space between the blade and the top of the cutter. And so it has a tendency to push away. So if you're finding that your paper isn't getting cut straight, it's likely because you're cutting from the top of the cutter. That's why there is a bottom ridge in the cutter, so that by the time the blade gets to your paper, it is already cutting down into the guide that's here, and this edge here will stop it from shifting. So just an interesting point that I found lately. So I thought I would share. Okay, there we go. I'll put that away for a minute. And now we're going to score. So the front section is not going to have any cuts in it. It's the back section here that's going to have cuts. So if you're looking at your paper and it's got a direction, the top would be the thing that's going to be cut to fit as the base of your easel card. So we're from the front base to we are doing 4 1/4. So I'm just going to turn this around and go to 4 1/4, and I'm going to, again, as always, do it 2 or 3 times so that I don't cut through the paper. So there's my first fold line, and because this is card and a little bit heavy, I'm just going to really pay attention to getting that seam nice and tight. So this is the same size as a 5.5 by 4 1/4 inch card. So there, you won't have any issue with this. So now this back is where we're going to create the cuts for what's going to become the supports for your excuse me, your easel card. And in doing that, I'm just going to do some more lines with my, it's not a very sharp one, with my tool, so that I know what to cut along with my scissors. So you are going to go 1 1/4 inch long and 1/4 inch high. So we're going 1/4 inch high here, and I'm just going at the edges for that 1/4 inch so that I didn't press hard enough, so I skipped off the line. So I'm just going lightly across that 1/4 inch, and then I'm going to make a crisscross at that 1 3/4 inches. So that's my beginning, and then here I'm going to go back 1 inch and 1 2 3/4. So if I look at my lines, you can see 1 3/4 inches here, 1 3/4 inches there. I've got a line here that I need to pay attention to, because that's a fold line and that's a fold line. And this line here until that fold line is a cut line. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to line it up, and I'm going to cut to that fold line. And then I'm going to do the same thing at the other side. Okay, and then these guys are going to fold in. So there's the basis of your easel card. Now we have to put slits in the front, and the front slits are going to go we're going to want these guys to go out 1/2 inch from the base of the card, so there's good support. So we're going to need 1 1/4 inch. So we're going to be going 1/4 inch up, but first I want to make my my diagonals where the cuts are going to go. So I'm going to go 3/4 from the inside of the edge. So there's 1 2 3/4, and I'm going to just estimate what that 1/4 inch is for the moment. And then I'm going to also do 3/4 from this side. And you can see I've just done what I estimated to be 1/4 inch. And now I'm going to go in and I am going to look for the 1/4 inch mark and the 3/4 inch. And just because my lighting is not great, sorry, I have to change it around so that I can see where everything is. And this is my 1/4 inch. Make sure you have it nicely tucked in. So my 1/4 inch is going to be there, and I'm just putting a little notch in it, because don't forget, I do have, I should probably put the little notch in this way. There we go. Don't want to overdo it. So I'll just show you my little notch. I've just got a little notch there because I am going to put an actual card facing on my card. But this is the easel part of it and the base of it. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and maybe I'll do this so that you can see it in the light. There we go. Is I'm going to cut right up to that place where the little notch is. So I've got a line there, and can you see it on this side? There we go. So again, I'm just going to cut along that line up to where the card is. Okay, let's put this aside. And now you make sure everything is folded nicely, and you're just going to poke the paper about 1/2 inch standing out from the inside. That's about all you really need. A 1/2 inch poking from the outside. Whoops! There we go. And it just takes a little while for it to be trained to do that. And there you go. And there you have your standing card. Okay, and that's what the mechanism looks like from the back, from the side, and from the front. And then your image is going to go in this area here. And you're going to allow for that 1/4 inch on the bottom so that everything, your image isn't affected by any of the cuts that we've created. So that's a very, very simple easel card. Okay, so we're going to make another paper easel to show off your card. And I have a piece of 8 1/4 inch by 8 1/4 inch paper, and it has 2 different colors of purple on it. So I thought that'd be kind of fun because part of the back will show in the front. So if you're going to use a paper, you need to make sure that it has 2 sides. So the first thing we're going to do is our scoring. Okay, oops, let's get a couple of those things out of the way. So 1/2 of 8 1/4 is 4 1/8, and this paper is just a little bit thin, so I'm going to be very careful. And at my 4 1/8 mark, I'm just going to go over it very lightly 3 times. I do not want to cut through the paper. Actually, I did that 4 times, but you get my point. Okay, so there's my 4 1/8 inch. Now, we have to measure so that we have 2 1/16 inch. So my 2 inch, I need just a little tiny bit more to make it 2 1/16 inch. So I literally am going to go to the 2 1/8 mark, and I'm going to move my paper so that it shifts back. So I'm taking it from 8 1/4, and I'm aligning it with the center of the post. So not in the gully of the 1/4 inch or the 3/8 of an inch, but in the post between those two. I'm going to set my paper halfway. Okay, so maybe I should bring the camera in so you can see that detail a little bit better. All right, so here's my paper at 1/4 inch, and my paper ends in the gully. I'm going to shift it so that it ends in the middle of my post. You see how it's in the middle of this post? So technically I cannot push my paper into a ridge because it's sitting on top of the ridge. Okay, Then I'm going to go back, and I'm going to take you with me here as best I can. My camera won't reach too far. And because it was a 2 1/16, I'm going to go right up, make sure I'm still lined up. I'm going to go right up to 2 1/8, and that should give me a measurement, and we'll check it, of 2 1/16 when I push my paper back, right? So you can see my paper is now, the line is on the post because I've pushed my paper back. So I actually do not have 1/8 of an inch, which is here. I do not have 2 inches, which is there, but I have halfway between 2 and 2 1/8. And that is because I shifted on this side from 8 1/4 to 8 3/16. Okay, even though it's sitting on the post, I need it to sit on the post in order to get that 1/16 of an inch. Okay. Now, having done that shift, and let me line myself up again, I'm just going to run this line one more time at 2 1/8. I need to move to 2 1/8 on this side. So I'm going to turn my paper 180 degrees. So my 2 1/8 is over here, and I'm back to no scoring on this side. Again, I'm going to shift my paper to the post, halfway to the post, on the post, okay? You can see it's not in a gully anymore. It's actually sitting on that post. And then I'm going to go to 2 1/8, and I'm going to make that mark again, nice and gently. Okay, so now I have 4 lines on my paper. The rest is easy. So I'm going to lift my camera up again so you can see what's going on my desktop. There we go. Okay, so now I need to add one more score line, and that is at 1 inch. So we're going to go back here, and we're going to lightly add 1 inch. Okay, and I'm not pushing hard when I'm scoring because I don't want to go through the paper. So you can see my score lines. These are all in one direction. Now I'm going to turn it 1/4 turn so all my score lines now are horizontal. And I'm going to make a score line at 1 7/8. And for ease of math, because my brain is not good with math when I'm tired, I am going to do a 180 slip, switch, and do 1 7/8 again. All right, so I have 1 7/8 here, and I have 1 7/8 there. I don't know what the measurement is in the middle. You can do the math if you choose to do that. All right, so now let's put our scoreboard away. It's time to do the folding. So the folding is interesting. So we are going to start by folding. Decide which side of the paper you want out. I want this paper out, so I'm going to fold all my multiple. You're going to hold it so that your multiple lines are vertical. I'm going to flip it over so that I'm folding my lighter color in, because I want my darker color to be on the outside. So I'm going to fold those lines, line them up, and I'm going to skip this little line and go right to the halfway point and fold that up first. I'm going to fold this halfway point. Okay, so they meet in the center. Everything is happy. We're all good. Now this guy, I'm going to fold back, so I reveal some of the other purple behind it. Okay, now this is where the interesting part is. You want to make sure that you're folding in. Oh, we have to flip it, sorry. So we're going to take this and flip it over, and now we're going to fold in correct. I've lost my train of thought here. Give me 1 second. Oh, okay. So we had that folded in. So now we're going to take everything except for this end piece, and we're going to keep that end piece folded in, but all the rest gets straightened out. And we are going to fold, so this inside is the paper you don't want to see. We're going to fold this edge over, and we're going to fold this edge over. So now you have this little lip, okay? Now we're going to fold this paper down, and then again this paper down, so those creases are nice and secure, and we're going to tuck this paper into this crease, so this little pocket that's created there. Okay, so you can see how I'm putting that paper into that pocket, and you're just going to mush that in there. All right. Oh, okay. So now that's what the problem is. Okay, sorry about that, folks. Okay, so we've just finished folding these over. We've got these two little bits here. We're going to fold that back up because we don't want to see a space here. We want to see the full color of your background. And then these guys get folded, and then they get tucked in this way, not the way that had the opening, but the way that is now closed. So I will review that, but for those of you that were actually able to figure it out yourself or watch me figure it out and you're on the same page, you just tuck that in and push it down until it hits bottom. Okay? All right, and there you are. So let's talk about the folding again. So we want to fold. We've got our most of the vertical, the side that you want to be vertical is the majority of lines, not the few lines, but the majority of lines. And you're going to fold one side into the other side first. Then you're going to fold that little one back. Okay. Then we're going to turn it around, flip it. Oh no, sorry, we have to open it up again. So now we're going to open it and keep this little piece folded under. Then we're going to fold this side and this side. And then this little piece comes up. This gets folded down. This gets folded down. And then you squeeze into the fold pocket. You squeeze that end. Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes it takes a minute to play with it. Do whatever you got to do to get it squeezed in there. Okay. So this is your basic easel, and it will handle one A2 card. All right. Now, if you want to put more than one A2 card in there, you can do it, but you have to expand the sides of that center square. So where we had the two sides folding in like this and nothing folding in the center, you would have to move your side arms, would have to move and become smaller in order to accommodate more space on either side, which would allow your pocket to puff out more. Okay, so instead of at 1 7/8, you might do 1 3/4, 1 3/4. That would give an extra little bit to either side, so you could insert two cards into the space. All right, so that's a quick and easy little display, and you can display anything that's small. You can customize this, again, as I said, by changing the sides where there's only 2 fold lines. Changing those fold lines and making them smaller gives you more space across here. Okay, at a certain point you may run into the problem that it's flimsy, but until you do, you can make it as big or as small as you want. You just have to keep adjusting these side panels. The long ones are always the same. The multiple ones are always the same. The 2 sides are the ones that you can adjust bigger or smaller to accommodate whatever it is you want to present. Okay, there we go. That's one. Okay, our next easel card I'm going to show you in 2 different sizes. One is going to be going horizontal and the other one is going to be going vertical. If you're doing something that's going vertical, you want to make sure that your pattern runs vertical. So like on this one, which is 4 1/4 wide by 5 1/2 long, you want to make sure that the pattern is running the full length of the 12 inches that you have. If you're doing where the 5 1/2 is across the top, then you want your pattern to be going horizontal. So vertical here, horizontal here. Okay. All right, so we need to cut this at 4 1/4. And we are going to need the full 12 inches for this. This is quite dense cardstock. It doesn't have to be this dense. I'm not using the pattern side because this is going to be the base for a pattern or for a card that I create. So I don't want all this fancy stuff going on in the background. I want to have something that's a little more simple that I can just modify for my own use. Okay. Now, one of the other things I want to just mention here is that we are going to put a tab at the top end and a slit at the bottom end once we get the measurements the way we want them. Okay, so we need to do our embossing now, or not our embossing, but our scoreboarding now. And this is actually a little longer. Look at that. It's not quite 12. Need to have my 12 inches. It's a little over 12. Ooh, sorry, I took you on a bit of a ride there. Let's straighten up a tad. There we go. I'm just going to make sure that this does measure 12 inches. And I've got a bit I need to take off there so it fits in our scoreboard. All right, so now I'm using the back side, and I want, it's the same at the top and the bottom in terms of scoring, so I'm not concerned about the scoring in the beginning, but I will be concerned when we're doing the folding and the notching. All right, so the first thing we want to do is score this at halfway. So this is 12 inches. We want to score at 6 inches. Okay. Then we are going to score at 1 1/2 inch from the bottom here. And I can press a little harder with this because it's thicker paper, but if you have thinner paper, remember many soft lines is better than pushing too hard. Okay, so here we are ready to go. I want this section to be the bottom of my card because of its text. I have to keep the text going in the right direction. So I'm going to fold first at the top here. I'm going to wait to fold that. I'm going to take my and how do I want to do this? Okay, so I'm going to go in, I'm going to say about 1/2 inch, and I'm going to just cut on an outer angle. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to kind of get it to be about the same distance from the end. So you can see that my angles now are sort of going on a side angle. And now you can push these guys under. Okay, so that's going to be our base. Now on this one, I have to turn it backwards so that I can see when I push this back where I need to cut my slit. And my slit is going to go central. Okay, so I'm going to take my pencil, and with the edges touching the bottom, about halfway, I'm going to put dots. So if you can see my dots, so originally I was this way. I had cut my angles on my card. I folded this up, flipped it over, pulled back the tab so I could see my sides, and then I marked halfway on my side here and halfway on my side there. And now I'm going to draw a line, and that's where I need to make my cut to create the place that we are going to slip the card through, or the tab through. Okay, so there's my tab cut. I don't care if you can see it because it's going to be underneath. Now you're going to get an X-acto knife, if you can find one. There we go. And a steel edge ruler, because it's not pretty if you use a plastic ruler with an X-acto knife. And it's also really good to have a cutting board. And my scoreboard happens to have a cutting board in it. So I will put that in the materials section. All right. So now I'm lining it up right with the edge. And I'm not going to try to force my knife through it. I'm going to go over it several times to create the cut. Because if I force too hard, it's just going to jump and bounce, and I'm not going to get a nice even cut. I could hurt myself. It might slide out of the slot and create some other kind of cut that I'm not going to be happy with. So I'm just going to go back and forth until I can feel the give of the mat. So now I have my slot. Okay, now we'll flatten that out. I can fold this under. There we go. On its fold line. I can fold this over. I'm going to tuck these little ends because they need to be contained underneath. And then I'm going to, well, I guess I should slide this first into one side. It always helps if you do that. And then you're going to have to kind of pop it up to slide it in the other side. See how I've gone past the center part? Okay, so let me just push these down so you can see a little better. So these are being folded down. We're leaving that up. We're going to slide this through right to the edge that's on here. Okay, so you can see it's right up to that folded edge. That's what gives us the extra space on the other side to kind of pop this through. And if you find that it's too long on the other side, which sometimes it is, just take a small snip . So maybe a 1/16 of an inch. Doesn't matter if it's pretty, you're not going to see it. And make sure you go back up to that side and just pop that through. If you need to adjust it a tiny bit more, you can. I didn't need to. All right. So now I have my sides. And what you're going to do is fold everything, because once you fold it, it gets into its place and it feels happy. And you can just put a little piece of tape or a little piece of glue to secure that edge. Make sure that everything is folded nicely. You're going to want to fold this one nice and stiff, otherwise it won't stand. let's put a little bit of glue underneath here. So that it stays put and is happy. Okay. Oops. Need a little more pressure. There we go. And there is your first standing base. Okay. And sometimes you just need to mess with the bottom a little bit because it might flip out or flip in. And oh, there you go. Okay, so there it is standing on its own. Now, the 8.5, and of course here's my 4.5 by 5 inch card, and so that would fit on there perfect if I wanted to just cover the front surface, or you could just cut it smaller and fit it in and center it to make the outside of the frame or the outside card the frame of your artwork. All right, now to do it the opposite way, and this one allows you a little bit more of a base because we only had 12 inches to play with. We only could have a 1/2 inch base. This next one is going to offer us a full inch of base. So again, we're going to need to cut our paper to 5.5 inches. So let's make 5.5 inches. And my pattern is running vertically, which is what I want. And now I am going to cut, let's see. I only need 10.5 inches for this one. So we're going to do 10.5 inches. Let's see, 4 and 4 is 8, 8.5, 9, 10 inches. Yeah. If you want a bigger base, you can go more than 1 inch. I don't think you need a bigger base, but if you want to, you can. So you would go anywhere from 10.5 up to 12. And now we're going to do our scoring. This paper is a little bit lighter than the last one, so I have to be careful. So this is 10.5 inches, so halfway would be 5.25. So I'm just going to do a light scoring there. And then I'm going to give a 1 inch on this side. And I can flip it, or I can just do 9.5 inches for 1 inch on this side. There we go. All right, I can fold this in half and make sure it all lines up nicely. Take this out of the way. And make this nice and sharp on a sharp corner. Look at that. Looks like you need to have a pattern that runs vertically on both cards, no matter what card you have. Now this is 5.5. This doesn't look right. That's only 5. How did I mess that up? Okay, so Chris messed it up. She's going to fix it. Very easy to fix because it is a base. You don't have to worry about having extra. So that's only 5. I need a 1/2 inch more, don't I? So I'm just going to, whoops, watch it, cut my arm off. So we're going to put a dot there and a dot there. And I'm taking I should put there. Sorry, got the wrong dots in the wrong place. I have to make sure I'm cutting the same side because it's going to fit together. You don't want it to be too obviously not together. Okay, I'm going to turn it around because I have a little more space. And I'm going to line up my dots on both sides. Okay, that looks about good. Cut my 1/2 inch off. Make sure I align it back off. So this end I have to lose. And what do I have to lose? This is 10.5 if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is. 10.5 from 12 is 1.5. So from this end, I need to lose 1.5 inches. So this is how you fix your problem. Actually, I'm going to trim it after I stick it. That might make it a little bit more accurate. Okay, so this is where the two join together. So I'm going to flip this over. Oh, look, I have the pattern on the back side. Get some of my yellow tape that I use for masking. It's better if I have it closer to me so I can see what I'm doing. And you're going to line up the edge as accurately as possible. All right. Line that up again. Stick down the tape. I don't mind if the tape goes off the end, it's actually better. And then I'm just going to keep pushing it down and lining it up. And because this is a background, we may want to put tape on the underside of the side that's on the back because it will open up. I'm not worried about the side where we're going to put our artwork because the artwork is going to cover it up. So let's make a decision. I am going to have this side as the front. So this side needs to have tape all the way down. This side I'm not as worried. And now I can trim it because it is going to give me an accurate cut. All right. And sometimes, all right, there we go. Okay, so here's my guy. So I have to now go back where I've done my lines on the original piece, and I have to go in and just carefully add those lines to what I just added. Okay, there we go. So we're going to fold it in half. Make sure that that is nice and firm. This has got a bit of excess tape on there, so we don't want to see that. This is my back side. This is my front side. Alrighty. And I think I'm going to tape that down just to make it extra firm because we do have to make a slot. And I think I'm going to use, I'm going to make my slot smaller on this one because I have to go by this piece. I can't make a slot there because it will all fall apart. So I am going to be cutting my slot a little bit narrower, and I'm only going to go halfway here. Doesn't matter where I cut because I remember that it's where I put the line that makes all the difference. There we go. Okay. Now this is going to get folded over. And because I didn't cut all the way like the last one, I had to cut the last one all the way. I'm just going to poke this up and underneath, get my halfway point on one side, get my halfway point on the other side, like I did with the first one, so I know where my points are that I draw my line. And now we're going to draw the line, and we're going to get our cutting mat. Give me 1 second here. There we go. We're going to get our cutting mat, and we're going to cut from one point to the other. And again, we're going to go over it multiple times because we don't need to make a heavy cut, whoops, to start with. We just want to make a groove, and then we just keep going back and forth until we feel the mat grab at our knife underneath. There we go. There I have my slice. Owning a metal ruler is really important when you're a crafter and you need to use X-acto knives. So if you don't have one, pick one up. All right. Okay, so now I can fold this piece up, and I can fold that piece up, and I'm going to do the same thing I did before, which is play with them. So I'm going to put this right up to the edge, as close to the edge as I can get, and because there's more play in the paper, I can tuck this other edge in. Whoop. Can't do it without using my body. Tuck the other edge in. Come on. Come on. There you go. All right. And push. Okay. Wiggle it into place. And there we go. Oops. This needs to be over there too. All right. And there's our fold. It's like a fold you would see on a box. And there's our base. Okay. So if you do make a mistake, don't worry about it. If you want it to be a card, then you would keep it unfolded unattached, but fold everything into the proper size. Actually, you don't even need to take it apart. You can put it together. And if you look inside there, it folds in all nicely, and you can mail it as is. So this one should, oh, we glued that one, so we can't change that one. But this one, without gluing it, you can fold it and put it into an actual envelope, and then they can just pop it open when they're ready to display it. All right, so that is our tutorial for some easy to do easel cards. And I may have mentioned, I don't remember or not, but you can also use these for table tent cards too. So if you're doing table settings at an event or something, these ideas will work very well for that as well. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed tonight's video. If you have, please share with your friends. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my YouTube channel for other crafting ideas. And we'll see you next week. Bye.